This is Mariusz. I sort of look like this guy here. Today I'll be going over some of the web challenges. So if you have a look at Vweeb and go there, you'll see that my name is at the bottom. So I'm sort of the expert on these challenges, so please ask me questions. In terms of getting started, it seems that many of the teams are going quite well. There's already 9 solves on the first few challenges, so that's amazing. But if you're still stuck and you don't know what to do, then I'll guide you through the first few challenges. Furthermore, if you are stuck on you don't know which challenge to start at all, then I strongly recommend Vweeb. Because it is designed to be very beginner friendly, particularly in the easier challenges. It gives you hints and all that stuff. So let us begin. The first challenge is welcome, and it's to use the browser to find the HTML source code. You're going to need to do this over and over again on your challenges, but it basically involves right-clicking and view page source. Alternatively, you can hit F12 to see the console, including the inspector, and then you should be able to find the flag over there. Regarding challenge B, people seem to be going much better with this than I expected, because there's already 8 solves. So if you just send something, then it's going to tell you to try sending some snail mail instead. What you actually need is to send a post request. So if we just look very carefully at our network tab after we hit F12, in Chrome it's going to look a little bit different but quite similar. Make sure you check disabled cache, otherwise you're going to have weird issues going on. And if we send some message, we're going to see that we make a GET request. Let me just make that a little bit bigger for you. So we have a GET request, and it sends the message in mail, because that's what GET does. Now, how do you make a post request? Well, if you inspect the element and see that the form method, the browser will automatically make that post request fully formatted for you. And as soon as you click submit, everything's going to work. Alternatively, you can make a post request using your own tool, like with curl or something. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask on the Twitch chat or the Discord chat as well. For division by 0, we see that if we just send a number, then it gives us a number back. And let's try doing 2. So it seems like if you try enough combinations, you're going to see that it actually takes the number 42 and divides it by whatever you send it. And we want to do 0, except our browser doesn't let us. However, we control the browser because we run the browser, right? So let's just send some number 123, and we look at the network request, and we have a careful look at the parameters, and we see that the form data was number this and submit this, and the actual payload looks like this. If we go to edit and resend, we can actually edit the raw message. So in Firefox, annoyingly, you're going to need to remove this content length header Otherwise, things are going to be bad. And then you can play around and send whatever you want here. So you can send 0. And then if you look at the parameters that are sent, we in fact do send 0. And if you look at the response, or if you double click on this to show the response, that's how you're going to get the flag. Audio is cutting out a bit. So from my end, it seems good enough. So sorry, you'll need to deal with my sort of bad internet and very bad microphone. Oh, and also like bad voice. I sometimes stutter and stuff, but don't worry about it. Right. Let's have a look at what other challenges people have solved really well. So administrator, that's really good. Secure administrator is also really good. Avatar upload is really good. Juggler is okay. Wait, hang on. Yeah, this sorting is not ideal, but it's how the points work. Okay, avatar upload 2. This isn't that good. However, it is a more challenging challenge, so I don't really want to spoil it. I want to give people a chance to solve it themselves. If you look up magic numbers and just look at images in a hex editor, you should be able to figure out a way of solving it. Now, login form has 0 solves, which is really weird because, in my opinion, it's a pretty easy challenge. Definitely easier than user details. Where's user details? Here, right next to it. All right. Now, for challenges L through to like R or something, there's a database on the back end, and it uses SQL. So the thing that first jumps to mind is you can do SQL injection. And that's exactly what these challenges require you to do, but with varying levels of difficulty. So since people are stuck on login form, I'll let people work that out themselves. But for user details, since at least one person has solved it, then I'll do a little bit of spoilers. So if we try ID 1, then we get Alice. If we do ID 2, we get Bob, and so on. But if we do something bad, then like it doesn't work. And if we do something very invalid, it's also pretty bad. But there's no errors. If we do a single quote, however, and it's going to be really hard to see this on the stream, but I can't really increase the size of the URL bar. If we do a single quote, then we get this error message. So I've seen error messages like this on quite a few websites. It's pretty disappointing. You shouldn't show messages to this extent. However, what you know is that there's something going wrong with the code, because now it says that the argument is incorrect. Well, if we do something invalid like ABC, that error isn't there. So a single quote is doing something fancy. What we can do with single quote is actually escape out of the proper SQL that the server is using and write our own. So if we do something like union null select null from users, and then we comment it out with dash dash and then a space and then some character, something changes, I think. Yep, so if you saw, there's like an extra line added. So that means there's actually like something being returned. In fact, it's these null values, but they're empty, so you don't see anything. What if we do select ID username from users? Now we actually get all the users. So we have managed to select the ID and username of every single user. Even though generally we only want to see one user because that's how many we can put in a single number if we put it here, right? So what can we do with this? Well, there's more advanced techniques, but in this case, guessing works pretty well. So let me just demonstrate how you can put things in different columns. So if we do username, then now suddenly we have username on both fields. This should be the ID, but we've just convinced the database to also put the username there. What else can we do then? Well, if we can get the username, maybe we can also get the password. And that's indeed how you solve this challenge, by extracting all the passwords from the database using something like a union SQL injection. So there are questions that, can we make requests using Chrome? Yes, Chrome does have built-in functionality, but it's not as like pretty. Well, Firefox is pretty ugly, but it's not as pretty as Firefox's. So there's like copy request as fetch, and that gives you like a JavaScript that you can paste into the Chrome console, and you can modify that and probably get similar results. It didn't work that well for me, but it works good enough. Rightio. Let's see if some people have solved that challenge in the meantime. User details? No. So, should have been watching the stream because I basically spoiled the challenge. Let's have a look. Let me check the Discord if there are any questions. No, there are no questions on the Discord. Please ask questions because that's what I'm here for. I'm live, so I can answer them like right now, alright? I'll introduce you to a way of doing Secure Administrator like how I would do it. This might be extremely useful for later challenges. So, in Secure Administrator, if I just go here, we see that we are a user, and we see there's this cookie on the path E, which is where Secure Administrator is, that we have some cookie called safe type, and it has this value, and you can't even see the whole value. There we go. So what is this value? Let's have a look. Let's put it in CyberChef. So CyberChef is my favorite way of figuring out what random blobs of text mean. So if we try URL decode, and we're going to need to do it twice. Yeah, okay. So due to shenanigans regarding how the server sends you cookies and how the browser shows you cookies, it's actually double URL encoded to actually get the next value. However, you don't need to do this. You can just trim out the % stuff and then do from base 64. And now suddenly you see, hey, user. So what happens if we try to modify this? Right, so let's get rid of the G and then let's refresh the page. Ooh, suddenly it's use without the R. Does that mean we can control this cookie and control what the server shows us? Well, yes, exactly. So let's try doing someone and do 2 base 64. And now we get this. So we can copy it over to our cookie and then refresh the page, and suddenly we see someone. Now, if you did challenge D, which is just administrator, you would know that you want to change the piece of text to admin. So you would just type admin up here and then paste this into your cookie. Cool. So I feel like I've been lecturing enough. There doesn't seem to be any questions regarding VoIP, so that's a bit sad. The juggler. Alright. Since there are not too many solves, I guess I'll go through this as the final thing. Please ask your questions now, because then I'm going to be going offline. So, the juggler. How PHP juggles comparison of different types, right? So if we send some password, it says wrong password. And now you can try and brute force it, but no, please don't try to brute force it, because you're probably never going to get it before the heat death of the universe, and it's going to be bad for our infrastructure, so please don't. The password, you need to send some sort of specially crafted JSON such that it compares correctly. So I'm just gonna run a PHP interpreter right now. Right, so I can echo hi. That's pretty good. So in order to check comparisons, we can be like, okay, is 1 equal to 1 PHP? What do you say? 1. Yes. That means it is correct. What if we do 0 equals 1? We get nothing. Yeah, that's probably not ideal because PHP is funky. We should do var dump. 0 equals 1. And that tells us it's Boolean false, right? So 0 does not equal 1. That's what we want. So now let's do var dump of hello equals secret. Oh no. Okay. So I'm going to have to retype that. Var dump hello equals secret. Okay, false. So string comparison works as we expect. But what if we do something like, well, is the string 1 equals to 1? Yes, it is. Okay, that's not too bad. What if we do var dump, well, is string 1abc equal to 1? Hang on, this seems a bit dodgy. The string 1abc isn't really equal to the number 1, right? So what does this mean for the general case? Well, if we have some random string like abc, because it doesn't have a number at the start, and PHP only cares about the characters at the start, which make up a number, that means most strings are going to evaluate to 0. Alright? So ABC equals 0. That's undesirable behavior, and that's how you can bypass this challenge. Now, make sure you actually send it a 0, not the string 0, because a string 0 is going to be compared like correctly, yeah, because they're strings. But if you compare it to the actual number without the quotes, then you can bypass it, right? So that's how you complete challenge H, the juggler. Okay, suddenly questions are flooding in. Any tips on the binary challenges? So my tip is to wait for the binary talk, because maybe then you're going to have some sort of revelations. I believe the binary talk... When is the binary talk? It's like at 12 or something, right? Yeah, the binary talk is at 12. So if you're still stuck after then ask me. I might be able to help. You're going to need some way of looking at the assembly, and you're going to need to figure out how to do buffer overflows. But back to Vweeb. Example code injection into PNG. So that's basically telling me, hey, I'm stuck on challenge G, please help. And at the beginning, oh no, I said I'm not going to go through this challenge, so I'm going to need to break that promise with myself. So for challenge F, because you need to sort of do challenge F before you do challenge G. So for challenge F, it's enough to simply make a text file like evil.png, and then if you put some PHP in there, then the server should accept it. However, that's not how a PNG actually looks, because if you try the same trick on G, it's not going to work. Now, I should have some PNG lying around. So if you do a Hex Dump, and there's many ways to do it. You can do it on CyberChef, you can do it on a command line with Hex Dump, or with like XXD. Yeah. If we look at this, it's actually just the literal characters like this, right? And that's not how a PNG file looks. The PNG file has some special variables which describe how the PNG actually looks. Now I might even, yes, wallpaper.png. Good thing I had that lying around. So if we look at my wallpaper, which is extremely tiny, but that's for another day, we see that it starts with some special bytes. So, like, some of them evaluate to the actual letters, PNG, so that would be these ones. And then there's some other definitions, right? Now, if you're using a Linux or some Unix system, you should be able to use the file command to try and identify files. So it says, hey, this evil.png, looking at the contents, it looks like a PHP script, actually, and it's ASCII text. But if we look at wallpaper.png, then it says, oh, this is a PNG image. And yes, my wallpaper is 1 by 1 pixels. This is what it looks like when it's stretched out. So how can we actually solve this ourselves? If we use XXD on wallpaper.png, we get this thing. So let me just put that into like evil text.txt. No, this is not ideal. Actually, no, this is fine. So there's a much easier way of doing this. Sorry. You can, if you just take a valid PNG and then stick the actual code on the end and put that into another file. If you look at the Hex Dump, you're going to see that it starts validly like a PNG, but then later has some PHP code. And I think, hang on, this PHP code isn't going to work. And that's where you're wrong, kiddo. Because PHP doesn't care about anything until it sees the lower than question mark PHP. It actually just will print all of this stuff to the screen first if it runs the code. And if we actually analyze evil2.png, it is actually identified as a PNG file when the program looks at the content. And that's how you can bypass the check for if something is a PNG file or not. Right, looks like there are some more questions. I'm getting questions regarding flag format. I'll try to answer them personally. So some of the challenges, such as P, the flag is not in the standard format. So you should just give it like pieces of text that are valuable, yeah, that you extract from the secure database, and you should be able to get it there. Okay, any last second questions before I go off and you can all get back to hacking? Since I am here, I will just briefly announce the release of the survey challenge. So this is a new challenge. It's for you to fill out this survey. It should be up now. Yep. So please fill in the survey. Tell us what you think about the CTF as a whole. If we are helpful, if the live stream is helpful, if the chats are good, maybe you think we are not very good at organizing things. So please give all of the feedback in the survey and you will be rewarded with a flag as well to redeem for a few points. Alright, so happy hacking people. I will go offline now.